Good afternoon. For the last 4 years, been evangelizing this whole concept of zero net energy design for not only buildings, but also for communities. And there have been hurdles. As we've heard from many of the speakers, and especially our last speaker, there's an initial incremental investment cost. And I've been asked to talk about some of the successful projects that we've been involved with over the last 4 years, but also some of those success factors. In other words, how did we overcome some of those incremental first cost hurdles? So some great innovation, not only on the technology side, but also what I would call financial engineering solutions that make projects, homes, much more affordable than we would seem capable. But first, some key drivers. What's enabling this whole concept of zero net energy? And the first of which is really the green build trend is moving forward. The most important factor is the building industry has come back from a recession. There's lots of building going on, but not fast enough in many markets, especially the one that I come from out in California. There's a growing demand for homes, a lack of supply, and consequently the issue of affordability is a major issue in many markets. But many municipalities, local governments, states have embraced this whole concept of zero net energy design, not only as a mandate, but also as a way to meet certain sustainable goals. They could be carbon offsets, they could be demand response programs for the utilities, a variety of drivers within the local municipality and state level governments. Even the federal government, the DOE, has great programs that really incentivize builders to think about zero net energy design. There's the DOE Energy Star Home Program and Sam Rashkin's program called the Zero Net Ready Home Design as well, which many of the builders that we've been talking to have basically embraced in a lot of the project. But financing options, I think, is a key driver that we'll get into a little bit more as I get into this presentation. But despite some of these green build drivers, there's still the conventional design practice of inefficiency. Many times in homes that are built around the United States, even today, there's lack of efficient insulation. HVAC systems are typically oversized, ductwork are too narrow, control systems are improperly sequenced, wrong windows. There's not a passive design incorporated into the home. Indoor air quality is rarely addressed. Appliances may typically vent hot air into the living space. Incandescent and halogen lights are still used randomly. There's no occupation sensors. There's no daylight sensors and real-time monitoring. So still a lot of practices of inefficiency. But those are changing in what I call best practices for zero net energy design. And there's a definite checklist of energy efficiency that builders are considering. Again, a lot of discussion about renewables being an important component in that. PV for net metering. More and more states and utilities are enabling net metering capabilities. Thermostats, not one, but in every room. Variable speed compressors, fans, heat pumps, tankless water heater technology, solar or geothermal preheat for domestic hot water, low E windows, dimmable LED lighting, R40 insulation, and real-time monitoring. Just a short checklist of things that can really improve and drive a building design threshold towards zero net energy. But again, as you add these components, these incremental technologies that improve not only the quality but the performance of the home, there does come an incremental cost. The solar energy industry, the PV solar energy industry, learned very quickly of how to overcome that initial first cost of investing in solar through very different types of financing methods. Probably the most innovative is power purchase agreements, both at the commercial, utility, and residential levels. We've seen commercial and operating leases, competitively priced energy efficiency loans, but I wanted to highlight a new concept that's starting to take up traction, which I call thermal service provider concept. So here we have a scenario where both the utility can actually get involved in the infrastructure investment and create a demand response program, but also retain customers through the investment in a geothermal or ground source loop infrastructure. So driving the performance of not only existing homes, but new homes to new levels, attaining that threshold of zero net energy in terms of the building energy performance becomes critical. And again, an important factor is the on-bill financing capabilities that utilities have in order to make this more affordable for an existing homeowner or a first-time homeowner. But most interesting is the concept of the private thermal service provider. This is where an independent power producer basically makes the investment at a community scale to basically deliver competitive energy services to a new master plan community. In many cases, the homeowner has no upfront cost. It is an investment by either the land developer or a third-party thermal service provider who basically now gets a monthly annuity from delivering enhanced services to that homeowner in that zero net energy community. In many cases, or in some cases, the thermal service provider can also retain some state credits, and in some cases where the federal state investment credit is still applicable for PV, can also retain those credits. So it becomes a very interesting new model that not only enables overcoming that first cost hurdle, but more importantly, drives to affordability. I wanted to give a couple examples of some projects that we've been involved with. Serenbe, Georgia, just outside of Atlanta, out in the Chattahoochee Hills. Steve Nygrant, kind of a visionary coming from the restaurant industry, developed a green community based on the English model of having a new urban village based on very high-density clusters, green space, and they've really started down the path of creating a zero-net energy environment for their community. Even in times of the recession, they were able to make those investments. And the Serenbe Group actually started their own energy service provider concept. So today, in all the deeds for the properties, for all the new construction, ground source geothermal is a requirement, and consequently, the developer provides that energy service to the homeowners at a competitive price. Also important is the builders in that area built to a high standard. I want to give South Face and Earthcraft some definite support in the way they've developed energy standards for the construction of homes in the Southeast. Badger Mountain up in Washington, another project where a third-party developer or service provider called Orca Energy basically provided the same types of energy services concept, but instead of a community-wide type of concept, they offered up on a house-by-house option. So again, making it more of an option versus as a deeded requirement. But again, most important for the developer was to create a zero-net energy community that was a competitively differentiated development in that particular market. And finally, probably one of our most noted projects is the Whisper Valley project in Austin, Texas. Austin has been mentioned several times in terms of kind of a municipal leader in sustainability. And Taurus Land Development had been sitting on 2,000 acres of land not really ready to build. The city also had a mandate to drive to zero net energy ready by 2015, so 2017, so it's in place. It created large burden on builders and the developers. So again, this concept of being able to provide energy services was something that they quickly embraced and provided as a first cost investment into that community. But they added some additional value. They brought in telecommunication services through Google Fiber. They teamed up with Nest to provide that smart home capability, but also they helped offset some of the incremental costs for the builders, for installation, et cetera. Again, making it very affordable, not only for the builder, but for the homeowner as well. How is that enabled? So the developer actually created a company called EcoSmart. And EcoSmart serves as an aggregator of various different types of stakeholders. The first of which, of course, is the land developer, the builder, and finally the homeowner. Their primary role is the energy service provider, as I talked about. But they work to develop high standards for the builders, again, developing or enabling an infrastructure where a third party can invest and be able to deliver services. And, of course, scalability, you know, the economies of scale. As those developments grow, the costs come down. And many of these projects, obviously, are a 15 to 20-year build-out, so you don't need to see and recoup from day one. EcoSmart, in this case, playing the energy service provider, really goes out and tailors solutions specific to the community and to the builders and to the heat or cooling loads within that specific geographical area. They create a partner platform enabling companies like Bosch to participate in delivering different types of technologies. They provide the financing and the warranty for all the incremental equipment and costs for driving that ZNE platform. The builder, in this case, actually acts as the sales force. They're out there with their realtors, obviously looking to find those first-time home builders. They're a conduit to the end user, the new home buyer. And they're ultimately the integrator that's going to do the installations and basically support that warranty. And finally, and this is important, is the monetary reward at the end of these types of investments where the homeowner obviously benefits from energy savings. We've heard in terms of some of the demographics, the trends towards a smarter buyer, wanting to have homes that use less energy, retain a higher value because of those investments, but also are comfortable to live in and are a healthy environment. So again, what are some of the key successes of all these three different types of projects that I've just noted? The first of which is really this energy efficiency checklist. Really focus on the building envelope, tightening it up, making sure you don't have the standby energy losses that your conventional homes have. Investment in renewables, be it ground source, geothermal, PV to offset the loads, are important parts of the energy efficiency checklist. Sustainable land development, again, designing a community that's zero net energy capable and a carbon neutral infrastructure investment that basically offsets any types of carbon combustion that you may still require in some of these developments. And again, coming back to the monetization of all these services and improvements is the affordability. Really creating an affordable type of build for the builder, competitive services that really make your development more interesting and more marketable in a competitive building environment, and again, enjoying those energy savings and comfort from a zero net energy design home. With that, I thank you very much.